You probably all noticed from the video, it's HubSpot's 10th anniversary, and it's also the 10th anniversary of the inbound movement. And what I want to kick today off with is the unusual story of how we came up with this inbound idea in the very first place. You see, when we first started HubSpot 10 years ago as young startup founders, we got a lot of advice. We got advice from our investors. We got advice from our advisors. We got advice from my parents, from Dharmesh's parents, from my dog Romeo, and Dharmesh's cats, Larry and Sergey. Now, the good thing about all that advice was it was very consistent. Everyone said, at the time we were focused on marketers. Yeah, now it's marketers and sellers. But back then it was marketers. Focus on the marketer, focus on the marketer, focus on the marketer. So we're good students of entrepreneurship, and we listened very carefully, and we did exactly the opposite of what everyone told us to do. What we did was instead of listening to the marketer at the time, we studied the marketees, the people on the other side of the market. We studied how humans actually shopped and found products, evaluated products, and purchased products. We really geeked out about this. And it was that studying of the way humans were changing back in 2006 that led us to come up with the inbound methodology in the HubSpot platform and to really start evangelizing this idea that marketers needed to transform the way they market to match the way humans actually bought stuff today. So that was a good time for us at HubSpot. And when we did our research, we did a lot of research. It was a big project for me. It took 6 months of my life when we founded the company. I was very much inspired by one person, a world-class researcher that I really love and have followed my whole career, Sir David Attenborough. Now, Sir David Attenborough, what I like about Sir David Attenborough, he's a world-class anthropologist. And he likes to get up close and personal, out in the natural habitat with this subject. Really gets up close and personal. And as we went on this journey, we said we really want to copy him, and we really like Sir David Attenborough. I'm no Sir David Attenborough. I'm not even a sir. But I fancy myself kind of a social anthropologist, and I like to get up close and personal with my subjects in their natural habitat as well. Instead of studying iguana behavior, I like to study human behavior. 10 years ago, I really geeked out about this subject. I'm a real geek at heart, and I'm especially geeked out about how humans shop and buy stuff. Now, we're 10 years in, and what I wanted to do was go back into the jungle, start from scratch, and study how modern 2016 shoppers and buyers evaluated your companies and your products and really learn what had changed. And I took it as basically a second founding moment for HubSpot, a second founding moment for the inbound movement. And what I want to lay out today are all the things I learned about the 2016 buying process. And my goodness, 10 years have gone by, it might as well have been 100. It's amazing how many changes have happened in the way your prospects evaluate and buy your products. I'm really excited about what I learned. Let's get started. First thing I wanted to look at was choice. What choices do your prospects have today? And it's very interesting how many choices they have. Back in 2006, when I was out in the jungle evaluating your prospects, your prospect had between 4 and 5 vendors to choose from for any given product and service on average. Today, I noticed that your prospects have between 14 and 15 different choices of different vendors for any given product or service. Fascinating. It turns out that in every industry I studied, and I studied most of your industries, supply is up, way up. Big time change in supply in every industry. And I have a thesis as to why that is. I want to share with you my thesis. Let's take that razor blade industry. There's been a revolution in manufacturing, a maker movement. CAD tools, contract manufacturing, rapid prototyping. It has become so much easier for companies to use atoms to build useful stuff for humans. The barrier to entry is much lower than it was 10 years ago or even 2 years ago. My industry, software, same type of thing is going on. Much lower barriers to entry. Amazon Web Services, agile methodologies, open APIs, open source software. Much easier for companies to build very useful products out of bits. Supply is up in all of our industries. At the same time, demand is flat. I didn't notice any big change between 06 and 16. Same amount of demand pretty much in every given industry. Some couple industries have taken off, but for the most part, pretty similar. Now, that's very good news for your prospects. It's very bad news for all of us because competition is up, way up. Who else feels like it's getting hard? Clap if you feel this like I saw it. Clap for me. Okay. Here's how I think about it. Back in 2006, you battled for inches on a 4-foot shelf. In 2016, you battled for millimeters on the infinite shelf of the internet. Things have really changed. It's gotten harder and harder as sellers and marketers. Life is more difficult. My goal for you today with HubSpot, with the Inbound Conference, with the Inbound Movement, with our whole lives, is to arm all of you, all of us together, with the knowledge and the skills and the platform to not just survive in an environment where supply is dramatically outstripping demand, but to thrive here in 2016. This is what gets me up early in the morning, keeps me up late at night. This is our mission. This is why Dharmesh and I started HubSpot. This is why we're doubling down on the modern buyer in 2016. Okay. So how do your buyers learn today? How do they learn? How do they live their lives? Back in 2006, your buyers mainly read stuff all day, right? Today, they mostly watch videos all day. Big shift in what's going on in how they consume content. And the way I like to think about it is back in 2006, we were all about text, creating blog articles. And text, like you wrap Google and text, that was like pigs in a blanket. Just a delicious combination, Google and text. And I think of 2016, there's another delicious combination, and that's video and social. That's like scallops and bacon, just a delicious combination in 2016. I love that combination. But videos have gone back in time in many ways. We used to enjoy videos and listen to the sound at the same time, but we've returned, it turns out, to the silent movie era, okay? Most of the videos we watch today, we don't listen to the audio on it. 85% of the videos that tip online are watched without the audio. We used to really like video. Your prospects used to really like videos that were long, and more your prospects like to watch videos that are short. I'm just going to leave that up there for a while. Your prospects used to like highly produced videos you spend hours on, and more, they like live videos. Facebook Live is revolutionizing the video game. Much deeper engagement, much easier to spread this content across the internet. Your buyers used to focus on your piece of content, one piece of content at a time. Today, your buyers are very different. They're looking at your piece of content. They're looking at your competitor's piece of content. They're posting on Twitter. They're looking at Instagram. They're painting the bathroom ceiling. They're cooking breakfast. Welcome to your prospects, the ADD generation. Okay, things have really changed. Okay, video. Video is really taking off. It's also interested in how your buyers collaborate. And I've got a prop for this one. Okay. How do your buyers collaborate? Now, back in 2006, hold on one second. Back in 2006, your buyers were using social media. They were definitely using social media. They used it like a Dunkin' Donuts drive-through. Very quickly go into the social media site, in and out in a couple of minutes onto the next site. Your buyers today, boy, has that changed. They treat social media sites like their favorite coffee shop. Got just right music in there. All their friends are in there. They've got their favorite almond milk latte ready as soon as you walk in the door. People live inside these social media sites. I live inside these social media sites. Things have really changed when it comes to social media. Whenever I think about that Dunkin' Donuts story, whenever I think about my Dunkin' Donuts, I think about this woman. That's my mom, Eileen. And every time I go visit my mom down on Cape Cod, I always like to go to the Dunkin' Donuts with her. We do the drive-through, we're going shopping. Like, Mom, let's go to the Dunkin' Donuts. We go through, pull into the Dunkin' Donuts, and I roll down the window and I order my coffee, and my mom leans over and she says, "I'll take a large coffee, no milk, no sugar." And we drive up to the thing, and the gal comes out of the window, and she brings her coffee, and we drive up. My mother's happy as a clam. She loves the Dunkin' Donuts run. Now, I talked to my mom a couple weeks ago, and she said, I have big news for you, Brian. And I said, "Well, what's that?" She said, "I went to the Dunkin' Donuts all by myself." Nice. How'd it go? She said, "Well, I pulled up to the thing, and I rolled down the window, and I looked over." I'm going to look this way this time. And I said, "I'll take my large coffee, no milk, no sugar." And then I drove up to the thing in the window, and I looked up to the window, and no coffee there at the drive-thru. So I got out of my car, and I walked up to the window, and I knocked on the window, and the woman came down. When the woman came down, she looked at me, and I looked at her. I said, "Where's my large coffee? No milk, no sugar." And just then, my mom and the lady from the Dunkin' Donuts, they turned this way to look, and my mom thought she ordered out of this thing, but she actually ordered out of the trash can. Now, why do I tell a long, rambling story about my mother on stage and inbound? 2 reasons. First, if you're not marketing in social media, you might as well be marketing inside a trash can. Second, my mom's here tonight, and I really wanted to weave a spot for her into inbound. Can you say hello to my mom? Okay. Thanks, Mom. So how do they find you? You know, how do prospects find you these days? They've got lots of choice, supplies higher than demand. How do you get found? Big changes in social. What about search? Well, back in 2006, when I interviewed your prospects, Google helped them find the answer to whatever question they had. Today, Google just gives them the answer to whatever question they have today. Google's changed a lot. In fact, what's so impressive about Google is they have mastered the Ask Jeeves playbook. Mastered it. They're very good at finding you the answer. About 35% of the queries I do in the Google search engine, I just get the answer today. So things are changing in organic search in a big way just over the last couple years. I bet that 35% blows up over the next couple years. Your search strategy needs to change too. What about paid search? In 2006, AdWords took up about 50% of the screen above the fold when you did any given search. Today, AdWords takes up 100% of the screen above the fold on both a mobile device and a paid device. So when I talked to your prospects and sort of looked at how they bought, increasingly, they are clicking on AdWords. They're either clicking on your AdWords or they're clicking on your competitor's AdWords. And my thesis here is twofold. One, boy, it's 100% of the real estate, so of course they're clicking on it. But two, the ads are more expensive, therefore they're better. People spend more time crafting their ad. They don't want to waste their money on it. So AdWords has gone up, in my mind, in importance over time to your prospects. What else about ads? Ads are very interesting. I was at Gary Vee's talk last night. He talked a lot about ads, more than I expected. I found that there's a lot of ad clicking going on, even with our prospects here in the room. In the ad industry, I think, is at the precipice of a giant shift that your prospects and you, I think, really need to take advantage of. Back in '94, a little company called Yahoo turned the ad industry upside down by creating the pay per impression ad. Much more intent, better ROI. In 2002, Google invented pay per click. Far better intent for the buyer, far better ROI for the marketer. We're at the very top of the first inning on pay per lead, a new type of lead unit, and new type of ad unit. All the vendors are playing with it. Facebook's in the lead. They have a product called Lead Ads. It is on fire. You just rate in your Facebook stream, you go ahead and fill out the form. This, I think, is the next major shift that all of your buyers are going to be using over the next couple of years. There is a big arbitrage opportunity right here. Now, this reminds me of a quote I really like. It's a quote by a guy named Mark Andreessen, who invented the Netscape browser. And he talks about how every industry, the real estate industry, the auto industry, the hotel, every industry is being transformed by software. Software is eating the universe. And I think he's mostly right. But when it comes to all of our worlds, it's actually Mark Zuckerberg is the one who's eating the world, right? Zuckerberg is on fire. Your prospects live inside of Zuckerberg's world for a couple of hours a day. Between Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, WhatsApp, you name it, your prospects are spending their life in there. If you are not marketing inside of Zuckerberg's world, you might as well be marketing inside a trash can. Okay? I used to scream from the high hills back in 2006, your success with marketing is much more about the width of your brain than the width of your wallet. And I largely think that's still true. But today there's a marriage happening that's quite interesting between content marketing and paid marketing. So your success in marketing, in content marketing, is much more about the width of your brain to the wallet power. Got a good piece of content. You go to Medium, you write a brilliant post on Medium. It's spreading like wildfire. Take some of your paid dollars and pour it on there, increase the viral coefficient, and spread that content. Paid marketing and content marketing, those things go together like bacon and eggs. Just delicious, okay? So once they found you, okay, how do they research you? How do they kind of dig in and learn about you? Back in 2006, when I did my research, the website augmented your sales rep. In 2016, the sales rep augments the website. Everybody get that? Want me to say that again? Everyone got it. In 2006, the website augmented the sales rep's behavior. In 2016, the sales rep augments the website behavior. Big, big change going on in your prospects' expectations. Your prospects have been trained in every industry they're in to expect automation and self-service. Things have really changed for your prospects. When I speak to them, they have a different level of expectation of what to expect from your website. Big shifts going on. And I kept hearing the same words over and over from your prospects. In the buying process, they wanted it to feel like this. They wanted it to be highly personalized. Ads, the website, the mobile experience, the social experience, everything super personalized. They want you to remember them and give you better service. Automated. They want things to be automated. Automation is better for you and for them. Self-service, they don't want to have to wait around for your sales rep assigned to their territory to talk to them about your new product offering at 5 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. They're working on the weekend. They want to learn themselves. Now, end to end, they have been spoiled by Airbnb, by Uber, by all these great applications to expect a killer end-to-end experience from your website. It's the Uberization or Uberification. I'm not sure how to say it, but it's sort of like Uber has spoiled all of your prospects to expect an awesome experience. So big, big changes going on the top of the funnel, how your prospects live, how they shop, how they find you. I want to wrap this section up with a little advice for my brethren marketers. First, stop looking for that blogger. start looking for that videographer. 50% of your content next year shouldn't be text, it should be video. We need to make the shift. Your prospects want to live inside of video. Social. Everybody in the room is in LinkedIn, and they're proud that they're in LinkedIn. They may even be in Twitter. You're not B2B marketers, you're B2H marketers. H is humans. Humans live in Snapchat, they live in Instagram. Their behavior is changing. If you're not marketing in all these sites, you might as well be marketing into a trash can. Accelerate your content. Combine your paid marketing and your content marketing. You've got a great Medium post. Repurpose it for Twitter, repurpose it with a picture for Instagram, repurpose it for your podcast, repurpose it for everything. Repurpose your content. That's the power content marketing move. And automate the buying process. Users are expecting you to automate their processes. Users have automation all over their lives. They want a self-service experience with your company. Okay. So that's kind of the marketing side. I wanted to talk about that. I want to talk a little bit about how they want to engage with your company and your sales reps. I get very serious about my research. Okay, phone calls. Back in 2006, caller ID was making a real dent in the cold calling industry. I was really happy about it. As I walked around your prospects' offices today, more and more people don't have a darn phone on their desk in the first place. So caller ID has turned to no phone on the desk, has turned to, boy, cold calling has really become a big waste of time for people. In fact, your prospects hate cold calling. Okay, I've done extensive forensic analysis on hundreds of purchases. I start at the purchase and I work backward onto every interaction that happens on what started it. I couldn't find a single damn buy that happened that started with a cold call. So I'm going to go on record today at Inbound in front of 19,000 of my best friends here that the cold call is dead. The cold call is dead. Okay. How about email? While we're at it. Now, in 2006, I was walking around your prospects' offices, and I look at all the screens. The email's on everyone's screen, right, in 2006? What about today? Gosh, Slack's on everyone's screen everywhere I looked. Big change going on in how people communicate in our lives. So what's that mean? Is email dead too? I thought it was going to be dead when I was doing my research, but it wasn't. Email's still alive and well, but it's alive and well in a way that was a little different than I thought. When I went and I looked at the purchase and I tied it all the way back to the original nugget, a fair amount of time it started with an email from a sales rep, but the email from the sales rep was good. You know, they had spent time and energy on it. They didn't just put the right name on there, but they had done their research and sent a great email. And it was from a rep who had sent 10 emails a day, not a rep who sent 100 emails a day. And so email still works. And I've come to the conclusion that if content is king in the marketing industry, context is king in the sales industry. What I couldn't find was a single sale that started with one of those crappy emails we all get in InMail or in our email box that is no context, no research in it. So email, I think, is still alive and well. I didn't expect to say that here at Inbound after doing all this research. I thought I was going to hail the end of email marketing and sales email selling. It is very much alive and well. People check it. If it's well thought out in research, it can work. It can start a sale. Okay. Trials. Back in 2006, people expected to get value after they purchased your product. In 2016, they expect to get value before they purchase your product. I have a shift here that surprised me. I just think of my glasses. I got a pack of 5 glasses from Warby Parker, and I picked the one I like, and I bought it. I really like these glasses, by the way. I got a lot of value from Warby Parker. Dropbox. HubSpot had hundreds of users of Dropbox getting tons of value from the product. before we spent a nickel. Casper, the mattress company, you can use the darn mattress for 100 days before spending any money on it. Things have changed. In an era where supply outstrips demand, you have to change your behavior. You need to give your prospects a little taste before they buy. Now, anytime I talk about this subject, I can't help but think of all of our new best friend who's speaking here on Friday, Alec Baldwin. Alec spoke in 1992 very eloquently about the state of the sales call back in 1992. Always be closing. Coffees for closers. And I think Alex, if he were to redo Glengarry or Glen Ross today, he might shift the positioning. It's shifted because the sales rep has lost some of the power. They've lost some of that information advantage. The buyer has got some advantage. Supply outstrips demand. I think Alex, if he had a do-over, would say you should always be helping. In a world where supply outstrips demand, you have to change the way you sell. You're going to have to change your hiring profile. Coffee is for helpers. Okay. I got some advice from my friends in sales. A couple nuggets for my very practical advice for my friends in sales. Email. Less is more. Cold calls. None is more. Trials. Try that again. Trials. A taste is more. Let them eat cake by the ocean. I thought that was funny too. Okay. My last thing I learned about your prospects, and my favorite thing I learned about your prospects, is about how they actually make the decision at the end of the day. Back in 2006, your buyers spent most of the process, most of the convincing time, most of the engagement time with your sales rep. It was a sales-driven B2B process. The sales rep had the information and had the power, and they used that power to their advantage. When I dissected your prospect's experience with you today, I found two things that surprised me. The first, sales reps still had a lot of influence and a lot of power. It came much later in the process. The marketer had grown in influence in the decision-making process. And what I found was your prospects spent about half of their time in your content, the marketer's content, and half of their time talking to the sales reps. So it's been an era where marketing has come up and really gained more importance. That's the first change I saw. That's probably not as surprising to you, or a lot of you are marketers. But the bigger surprise I got from your prospects was how much power your customers had on the sale. Okay? A lot of change going on here. So many of your prospects, they have these informal networks of peers that they talk to all the time, and they talk to their peers about you. Talk to them about your products and your services and who's good and who's on the way up and who's on the way down. It's a constant conversation with them. And when I dissect those purchases, and I dissect them and I go all the way back to when they did the nugget that started it, more often than not, it was your prospect talking to one of your customers. The potency of your customers as your third and more powerful channel to market than your marketers and sellers really took me by surprise. And it's really influenced how I'm running my own company. I was so surprised by this that I had my team go and survey a few thousand people and find out more about it. Is it really true, or did I have a strange set of data? And I was fascinated by the results. The potency of your customers is much higher than I ever would have expected. 2 out of the top 3 most trusted sources for decision makers, guess what? Aren't your salespeople or your marketing materials. It's your existing customers. Holy crap. Little motherhood and apple pie, but holy motherhood and apple pie, is it true? You've got a third incredibly powerful channel in 2016 that can be harnessed. Now, as I looked at this, I thought about all of you, and I thought, well, some of you Some of you maybe not have happy, you may not have happy customers. You may be a startup and you haven't got through product market fit. Or maybe some of you just don't have kind of that customer-centric gene. And so I thought of a couple of ideas that could apply to all of us, and I say myself, that might help us in harnessing this third channel to really accelerate, help us grow our businesses. The first is around commissions. Your sales commission plan and your customer success, they should go together like pork chops and applesauce. Just a delicious combination, the two of them. Don't commission your reps purely on revenue like everyone else does. Commission them on your customer success or a strong proxy for that success. That will work for you. 2, your pricing model and your customer success, those things go together like corned beef and cabbage. Delicious combination. Make sure your pricing model, as your customers do better, you do better. Align your incentives with your customers. It will serve you very well. The third hint I have is your business model, your revenue model, and your customer success, they should go together like quinoa and kale. Not that delicious, but very healthy. You need to move to a recurring revenue model if you haven't done it already. Recurring revenue models defer a bunch of revenue, which it's not tasty, but boy, it's healthy. And it puts you in business. You're partners with your customer over the long haul. It's a very healthy move. Okay. I have something I want to get off my chest today that I've been a little pissed off about for the last couple months. Okay. One thing I like about my job is I'm like a shrink for startup founders. They all come and see me and they lie on my couch and they talk about their thoughts and feelings. And I like that part about my job. And come, they talk. Sometimes it goes really well. What really pisses me off about the startup founders I talk to is all they want to talk about is how do I extract value from my customers? How do I extract every square inch of value out of my customers? They spend their whole damn management team meeting talking about how do I extract value from my customers? What I think they should be talking about is adding value to their customers. Spend your board meeting management team talking about how do I add value to my customers? In an era where supply is outstripping demand, you can't grow out of the phase where you're adding value. These founders think the early days, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to get to product market fit. I'm going to add value, and then I'm going to flip over and extract value. In a world where supply outstrips demand, you never outgrow adding value to their customers. Who's with me on that? I just don't think we have a choice anymore. I have some advice for my fellow CEOs and founders out there. Take it or leave it. Your customers are your third and most powerful channel. This is going to be very unusual advice from a guy who runs a sales and marketing software company, but take dollars from sales and marketing, put it in products and services and customer delight. Get violent alignment. I like that word violent here, between your commission plan, your business model, everything. How do you align your incentives with your customers in a violent way? Don't grow out of the add value phase of your business. The add value phase is the fun phase. In an era where supply outstrips demand, you just don't have a choice anymore. You need to keep adding value, adding value, adding value, or you will be disrupted. Okay. One final thought for you all. This is a list. This is a list of the 500 largest companies in the United States in 2006. And what I'm going to give you a little exercise. I want you all to think in your head, of the 500 largest from 2006, how many are left in 2016? Think a little bit about that for a sec. If you guess, let me hear it if you guess 298. Nobody? This is my personal opinion here. I think it's a terrible time to be a big company. Terrible time to be a huge company. Terrible time to be an incumbent. The internet, software is disrupting every industry out there. The internet has completely changed the way people buy products, the way they're delighted by their vendors. It is a terrible, terrible time, frankly, to be one of these large companies. My opinion, though, is on the flip side of that 298, there's 202 new companies who have entered the Fortune 500 over the last 10 years. Big churn. It's very slippery at the top of the US and the global economy. I think it's a terrific time to be one of you guys, to be a founder, to be a startup, to be a growth hacker, to be a growth company, to be a small business. It's a great time. Change is the enemy to big companies. Change is the friend to all of us. Those of you in the crowd who are listening carefully, who accept the changes that are going on in the way people buy and embrace them and change, you are the ones that'll be on this list in 10 years. This is why we started HubSpot. This is why we have this event. This is what gets us up in the morning and keeps us up late at night. We love this stuff. We started this company and this movement for you, the underdogs, the little guys. Take advantage of it. Now, we're going to move on to a nice video. And then, got a special treat. My co-founder, Dharmesh, is coming out. He's the smartest, humblest human I've ever met. He's absolutely brilliant. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it.
Okay, so that's what's going on with me. Would love to hear what's going on with you. Call me. Greetings, everyone. Sorry about that. I was just leaving my friend Brian a voicemail. He loves those things. Absolutely loves them. So Brian talked a lot about change and how it's time to embrace change and fall in love with change. And Brian plays the social anthropologist. He loves to observe human behavior. He likes to get up close and personal with his subjects. I like to get up close and personal with my subjects too, but where Brian plays a social anthropologist, I might be better characterized as an antisocial technologist, otherwise known as a technologist. Now, it's not that I don't like people, I just don't like being around them a lot, especially in large groups. Now, before we geek out, which we're absolutely going to do, so prepare yourselves. Before we geek out, I'd like to share a personal milestone with you and ask you a question. Have you ever had that chance encounter, sparks fly, your heart races, and you become like a smitten kitten? Applaud if you've ever had that moment, you've fallen in love. Applaud. Now, some of you are not going to applaud because you think of that as a public display of affection. It's not. It's just an audience survey. So I've had that happen to me, too. And I'm celebrating a 25-year anniversary. Thank you. Thank you. 25 years ago, I met my first computer. And it was amazing. In that moment, I knew we were meant to be together. I knew it. Now, thankfully, the feeling was mutual. I know this because we had 2 more dates that same week. Now, a couple of years later, I met my first true love, which is my wife, Kirsten. She's in the audience today. Hey, sweetie, hi. Now, ever since Kirsten's entered the picture, computers have been jealous. She swears that that's why she has the computer issues she has. But computers and I have still been fast friends for 25 years. Now, in those 25 years, there have been major waves in technology. I'd like to focus on some of the biggest ones. And along the way, I'd like to make note of some of the surprises, things I didn't expect. And more importantly, I'd like to focus on things I do expect, things I predict that will happen over the course of the next 5 or 10 years. Now, let's start briefly in 1994. That's when the Netscape browser was released. It's also when Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, and Shawshank Redemption were all released. In other words, 1994 was awesome. It was awesome. And the internet was great. It was amazing. But there were times of frustration. Like when you knew a web page was out there, you knew it was out there, and you just couldn't find it. And you had no choice but to aimlessly wander the web looking for it. Then along came search engines. Alta Vista, Yahoo, Google. And something unexpected happened. For millions of us, even though we thought search, what we really thought was search. Google became synonymous with search. Search was Google, and Google was search. Now, with all due respect to Microsoft, there have been 236 episodes of Friends. Not once did Chandler ever say, "Why don't they just Bing it?" So today, every day, over 3.5 billion searches happen in the Google search box. Now, to give you a sense for how big that number is, think about how many days long this election cycle has felt. 3.5 billion is an even bigger number than that. So the question is, why did Google win? They crawled the web, they indexed all that content, but they weren't the only search engine to do that. Just about every search engine did that. The reason they won is because although they were looking at all the same data, they interpreted it and analyzed it differently. They built the link graph, which is not just the information on every web page, but the connection between those web pages. Because they figured out that if you looked at a web page and all the inbound links that come into that page, that's a high signal of quality. It's all about those inbound links. Now, my wife and I were chatting about inbound links, as couples do. And my son overheard us, as children do. And then he asked, Daddy, where do inbound links come from? And I'm like, well, when one web page loves another web page very, very much, sometimes it produces a web link. So let's talk about Facebook. Beyond being the world's most sophisticated site for sharing photos, it also happens to have a search engine. It's way up there in the top. Now, you don't think much of it. 2 billion times a day is how many times that Facebook search box is used, 2 billion times. Now, people are not searching for products, they're looking for people. And what Facebook has is the social graph. Google had the link graph, Facebook has the social graph. They know who your friends are. They know the people that you followed, but you never really ever liked anything because you probably didn't like them in high school. They know all of that. They have all that data in the social graph. Now, the one thing that's notable here is unlike the Google link graph, the data that Facebook has is private. It's proprietary. Facebook has it. Nobody else does. Amazon has the product graph. They know the products people buy and who buys them. And that's a very, very powerful position. Let me illustrate. So, you get home a little bit tipsy on a Friday night. You go online before you go to bed. The rest of the weekend passes leisurely. You get home from work on Monday, and there's an Amazon box waiting for you at your doorstep. What could it be? Is it a gift? You have no idea. Turns out, you don't remember buying it late Friday night. You don't know what's in that box. Amazon does, because Amazon sold it to you. So if you're looking for a product, Amazon's search engine is the best search engine out there, regardless of what condition you happen to be in. And that's why over half the people, if they're looking for a product, they start with Amazon. So what's changing in search right now is where we go is starting to change. It's not just the one website now. Where we go is changing. Where we are when we search is changing too. You are going to have search everywhere. You're going to have search in your dining room through devices like the Amazon Echo. You're going to have search in your car. And very soon, you're going to have search in your head. Now, Tim Cook, if you're listening, I'm waiting for my Apple AirPods anxiously still. It's going to be awesome. You can like whisper into something and Siri talks into your ear. It's going to be great. So all that change is happening in search, but there's one thing that I don't think is going to change. This is true 5 years ago, and I think it's going to be true 5 years from now. And it's that to win at SEO, you need to be really good at HEO. The best marketers and the best search engine optimizers have known this for a long time. The way to win at SEO is to win at human enjoyment optimization. Don't solve for the search engines, solve for the humans. Because as it turns out, Google and others are building the engagement graph. So now they have data not just on the web pages, but on the people that they engage, those connections between people and website content. And they're using that as there's overwhelming evidence that they are using that data more and more. So if you have a website that shows up on the Google search results and someone clicks through and they bounce right back, that's a low quality, low engagement site. On the other hand, if they're coming, they click through and they enjoy your website, they stay for the content, Google sees that as a sign of quality. And it impacts the search rankings, overwhelming evidence. Now, speaking of enjoyment and content and search, let's say you wrote this brilliant 1,500-word blog post. People love it. Now, as it turns out, some people don't like to read. They like to listen. To get the most people to enjoy the content that you're investing in, every blog post you publish should be automatically converted to audio. Now, as it turns out, very soon, we will have technology that will be able to narrate textual content in a way that's indistinguishable from a human narrator. And the cost of that is approaching zero. So we will have the technology to do this, and we should all do that. Once again, have as many people enjoy the content as you possibly can. Now, one of the reasons audio is so popular is because we're mobile, we're on the move. I don't move all that much, I'm calorie efficient, but people, generally society is on the move. And hence, the next big wave, the smartphone. And what the smartphone gave us and taught us was this whole new way to interact with devices. It was the touch and swipe. That was life-changing. Now, the life-changing interaction for many of you is the swipe left, swipe right, but To each their own, no judgment, no judgment. Now, the surprise with smartphones was that we thought it was carrying the internet around your pocket, that the browser was going to be the big thing on the smartphone. As it turns out, that's not the big thing. As it turns out, it's all about the apps. About the apps, not browsers. Sorry, I get songs stuck in my head. And so as it turns out, the majority of the people spend time on mobile. They use apps, not the browser. Now, the problem is that they're probably not using your app. They're using the top apps. So unless you have a crazy compelling, life-altering application, you're unlikely to get an avalanche of downloads. Now, if you skip the whole we're going to build our own mobile app phase, congratulations. You're going to be OK. You didn't miss much. Now, speaking of Pokemon, by the way, inside secret, very few people know this. I didn't know this until a few days ago. Brian loves Pokemon. Loves it, loves it, loves it, loves it, loves it. His dog Romeo, on the other hand, not so much. Romeo's exhausted and a bit confused. So, what exactly are we all doing on our mobile devices now? And the answer is we're spending a lot of time messaging other people. We're spending even more time mesmerized by watching is the message, are they typing? Has it come back yet? But the worst thing is you're watching that, it's been 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, and then it goes away. It's like they stop typing. Like, I can see you were typing, and then you stop typing. What happened? Like, why did you do that? That's the worst. Who's with me? Like, that's the worst thing, right? That's the worst thing. Now, you know who would never do that to you, though, is my friend Brian. He would never do that. It's not in his nature. So messaging apps are growing very, very fast. As it turns out, growing even faster than social networks. So the top 4 messaging apps have more users now than the top 4 social networking sites. It's amazing. Facebook Messenger alone has over 1 billion users now. They're not alone. WhatsApp, WeChat, they're all in that billion territory. Now, some of you that are marketing people and sales professionals will push back a little bit and say, well, Dharmesh, that's all fine that millions of people are sending each other emoji, but how does that impact my business? How does that help me grow? Why do I care? And the answer is, we're not just messaging in our personal lives. We're messaging at work with applications like Slack. And we're going to be messaging in things like Microsoft Teams and Facebook Workplace. We're spending more and more time messaging and chatting with each other at work because some of us will do just about anything to avoid eye contact. So what does this mean for us? This shift to messaging. It's undeniable. The shift is happening. What does it mean? Well, number one, in a world that's moving to messaging, you can't buy a list and blast it anymore like you used to do with email. 5 to 10 years ago, inbound marketing was preferred, but optional. If you wanted to buy a list, you could still do it, even though we should have known better. But you can't do that now. Inbound marketing in the world of messaging is no longer optional. It's mandatory because you can't go up to Mark Zuckerberg and say, hey, dude, I'd like to buy a list so I can blast these people. You can't do it. It's not that it's not preferred. It's mandatory to do inbound marketing now. So the good news is that if you focus on adding value instead of extracting value, as Brian spoke of earlier, the relationship you can build with people is actually much stronger over messaging than it ever was with email. Deliverability is much stronger. People are much more engaged. So if you earn that trust is much more worthwhile than what we had with email. Now, the move to messaging triggered a new big wave. Chatbots. Now, you've probably heard about them because you can't avoid them. It's like everywhere here, like here a chatbot, there a chatbot, everywhere a chatbot. But some of you might be wondering, like, what the heck is a chatbot? And quite simply, it's software that you can converse with, that you interact with using text or voice, and you can have a conversation with the software. And some of you are thinking, oh, well, digital assistants that want to be helpful, I think we've had this experience before, and that didn't turn out all that well. So the question is, are chatbots going to be a passing fad or the next big thing? I think they're going to be the biggest wave we've seen in technology in the last 2 decades. I think it's going to be huge. Because we can now have natural conversation with software. We as product builders, like to think, oh, my application or my website is so intuitive. Well, no, it's not, because I had to think to figure out how it is you designed this thing. It may be more intuitive than something else, but it's not natural. For the first time, chatbots allow our interface with technology to actually be natural. We don't have to translate what's in our heads. Now, when I talk about chatbots, often people have some anxiety and some concern. And it goes something like this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a battle for the ages. In this corner, weighing 170 pounds, 179 Halloween candy, is the human. And in this corner, weighing exactly 0 pounds, is the bot. Now, I think that's the wrong way to think about it. This is not the epic battle. It's not human versus bot. It's human to the bot power. Bots are a tool that exponentially expand human ability. They amplify what you can do. Now, I've been personally fascinated with bots for a long time. Now, thankfully and conveniently, I'm part of a group at HubSpot called HubSpot Labs. And not this group, HubSpot Labs, which has a different mission, equally noble, a different mission. We have an R&D group at HubSpot that essentially tinkers with new technology to see what comes of it, so we can kind of experiment with things. And HubSpot Labs has been building a chatbot for growth professionals, for marketing and salespeople, just like you. It's called GrowthBot. And it's software you can chat with over Slack, over Messenger, over iMessage, SMS. And in order to kind of show you what bots can do for our world, I'm just going to walk you through a quick demo. So here we are in Facebook Messenger. Now, the beauty of bots is that there's nothing to download, there's nothing to install, there's no setup, there's no sign-in. You just go to your Messenger app, and you just send a message. And you are now interacting with the software. It's that easy. You just send a message to @GrowthBot, just like you would to @Dharmesh or any one of your friends. Let's walk through an example. So let's say you're having coffee at your favorite coffee shop, your usual almond milk latte, and you have a brilliant idea for a blog post. Now, if you're like me, apologies if you are, but if you're like me, you're like, oh, note to self, write this blog post when you get back to your desk. And that note to self, for me, is gone forever, essentially. I never will come back to that idea. It's gone. Nice thing about GrowthBot is you can basically just send it a message. And you can say, hey, create a blog post. You didn't have to go to the web application, go to the blogging tool, click Add New Post, type in your title, and then click Save. You didn't have to do any of that. You just sent a message as if you had a digital assistant at your beck and call, because you do. That's how it works. Let's look at another example. Let's say you've been having a debate with yourself, which I do all the time. It's like, I wonder if our traffic is seasonal. Does it like go down in the summer months because people are on vacation or not? Now, the way you might answer this kind of question, if you have it, and marketers, I know you have this kind of question all the time. You're disturbed. I love you, but you're disturbed. Is like, okay, well, what you do to get this answer would be maybe like, oh, I'll download this year's data in a CSV. I'll download next year's data in a CSV and pull it all into Excel, make the requisite sacrificial offering to the Excel gods, and hope that the chart that I want comes back. With GrowthBot, all you do is type in what you want, and back comes the chart that you want. You expressed it in natural language. You asked it in the way that it is in your head, and the answer comes back. It's a little bit like thinking, oh, I want a sandwich, and then saying, I'd like a sandwich, and then a sandwich shows up, right? There's no mess, no risk of bodily harm making a sandwich, which happens to me all the time. All right, so those were some marketing examples. Let's look at a sales example. Let's say you're a salesperson, or you're friends with a salesperson. They have lots of friends. And you're headed to Boston. It's like, oh, and you work for a company that sells software to small and medium law firms. In GrowthBot, you can just ask the questions like, show me small and medium law firms in Boston that happen to use Google Apps. Because if they use Google Apps, they're probably more likely to buy software than not. GrowthBot comes back with a list. We pick one, Donovan Hayden, which is not a made-up firm like Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. It's an actual firm here in Boston. And you can just add it to the CRM. So you just ask the question, who are you looking for? In natural language, a list comes back, and you can just add it to the CRM. Who thinks that's pretty cool? Yeah. All right. So everything we've seen so far, we've initiated the conversation. We asked a question, and GrowthBot came back with an answer. But that's not the only way bots can work. Bots can work in the background on our behalf, and then initiate a conversation when something interesting has happened. Let's look at some examples. So GrowthBot knows I'm working on a blog article about chatbots. It's been watching the web, and it comes back and says, hey, there's this really popular article people are sharing all over the place about chatbots. Do you want me to put a link in your draft blog post, or do you want me to email it to you? Now, the beauty here is we didn't have to go crawl the web every day. GrowthBot found it, and it makes it super simple to just add it to our article, to reference it. Let's say we publish that blog post. GrowthBot comes back and says the conversion rate on that blog post that we published yesterday is way higher than our average. Do you want to spend $100 to amplify this particular blog article on social media? Now, the beauty of this is twofold. One is it was watching the analytics for us, so we didn't have to obsessively kind of look at the blog traffic for every single article, and it came back and gave us a very actionable, single-click way to do something. Just click the button, and we spend the $100. Those are two marketing examples. Let's look at a super simple sales example. One of the biggest challenges in sales is keeping the CRM updated. It's a noble calling. HubSpot works on it. Everybody works on it. Now imagine you're a salesperson, and you had a call with Tony, and then GrowthBot sends you a message back and says, hey, how did that call with Tony at Stark Industries go? No logging into the CRM, no doing anything, and you can just type a response. Went pretty well, expect the deal to close next month. The bot can interpret that and update the CRM accordingly. It's that easy. That's what we have to, who thinks that's cool? Right? It's like, it's simple, right? It's simple, but it's so powerful. So that's GrowthBot. It's in beta now. Over 10,000 people have tried it. We've had 4 marriage proposals. Seriously, no, I'm not making that up. I encourage you to try it out. And as a super secret bonus, if you go to GrowthBot and type in inbound is awesome, it will unlock the premium features that I'm working on right now. Well, not right now, but I will be working on tonight. OK. So it's fun to be building a bot that helps marketing and salespeople, makes them more productive. That's fun. But what gets me super excited is the opportunity for bots to help your customers. Let's walk through what that might look like. So decades ago, literally, businesses started building websites. This is the prototypical web designer. As we all know, they prefer writing on transparent surfaces, helps them think. They're all born with the innate ability to write in reverse so we can all read it. That's just the way it is. And so the question is, look, why did we start doing this? Why did we build websites in the first place? And the answer is very simple. We did it to help our customers. Because customers had questions about our company, and the website was available 24/7 whenever customers had a question. Made complete sense. That's why we did it. I'm going to posit to you. Decades ago, we started building websites. We are now going to start building bots. They won't replace the website, but they will power them. They will also live in messaging apps, in voice-activated devices. They will be this Q&A kind of thing that we've just looked at. So the question is well, Dharmesh, why would we go and build bots? For the exact same reason that we built websites, to help our customers because they have questions. They have questions around pricing, around location, in parrots. And as it turns out, the shortest distance geometrically between 2 points is a straight line. The shortest time between a question a customer has and the answer they seek is going to be a bot. They don't have to figure out the website to figure out where your return policy, but they can just ask the question. Now, what's made all of this possible, why have we had this kind of big surge in bots, is because of artificial intelligence, AI. Now, AI simply is when computers have the ability to do things we thought required human intelligence. That's what AI is. Now, my prediction is that artificial intelligence is going to seem less and less artificial and more intelligent. It's already happening. The biggest piece, I think the most relevant part of AI for us, for businesses and for marketing and sales, is machine learning. And machine learning is what gives software the ability to do things without us telling it explicitly what to do. Let me illustrate. So let's say we have this spectrum. On one end, it's software, it's teammates, employees. Like, okay, well, on one side you have like the person is like, you have to tell them everything, like do this, and then if that happens, do that, and you have to give them explicit instructions. And then you have the star employee, and you have machine learning, where all you have to do is to say, here's what you're solving for. This is the goal. Here's the data that we have. Figure it out, right? The best employees do that. The best software will do that instead of going explicitly through. Now, the immediate use cases are ones we've had for a little while. Predictive learning and predictive lead scoring is going to get a lot better. Content recommendation is going to get a lot better. Send time email optimization is going to get a lot better. We have all these use cases. I want to walk you through a couple that are less common. The first, not sexy, but important, is lead routing. Now, there are two ways to route leads when they come into your business. Way number one, whoever's next in line gets the lead. It's called round robin. Engineers might call it a semi-random distribution. Essentially, we just like go through and allocate leads. Another common one is territories. You own the state of Massachusetts, and so if a lead shows up in the state of Massachusetts, that salesperson gets that lead. Both of those are suboptimal because they're just looking at a fraction of the data that we have available. What we should do is we should have a match.com for leads that match them up to the salespeople, that looks at all the data about the lead. How big is the business? Where are they from? What industry are they in? What stage? Have they raised funding? All of those things. And everything about the salesperson, right? It's not a one-way street. It's like, oh, this salesperson is really good at selling to venture-backed startups. They should get the venture-backed startup leads. Matchmaking for lead routing. Elon Musk has not predicted that we will have autonomous self-driving vehicles. He has pretty much promised it in the next few years. He's putting someone on Mars. He can do this part, right? And the reason he's so confident, and many others believe this, is that driving is essentially taking a bunch of different inputs. How far is the next car? Where I am? How fast am I going? It takes all of that and makes decisions on what to do. Makes complete sense. Machines are going to be better at it than humans are. They will have better inputs, and they're going to be faster than us at making those decisions. This is inevitable. The other thing that's inevitable in the next few years is we're going to have autonomous, self-driving marketing automation for the exact same reason. When we create a marketing automation campaign, what we're really doing is trying to say, oh, we have all these inputs, and we're trying to make decisions around what we should do next. Should we send this email? Should we wait 4 days? Machines are going to be better at figuring this part out than we are. It's just a matter of time. Now, in order for you to benefit from all this machine learning stuff, the thing you will need to do and invest in is you'll have to get the data in one central normalized place somehow. Hint, hint, HubSpot. No, I'm kidding. You need to get it in one centralized place because the reality is without the data, that's what gives machine learning the learning part, right? There is no learning without the data. All right, so I've talked a lot about change. Brian's talked about change. And recognizing change is just one of the steps in the cycle that HubSpot goes through. We try to figure out what's going on, what's changed about human behavior, what's changed about technology. Step 2 is to productize. Can we build software that helps companies embrace that change and leverage that change? And the last step is to democratize. How can we take that technology and make it available to the most number of businesses possible? We are super passionate about small and medium-sized businesses, and that's what we want to do. So now I've talked about recognize. At 4:15 today, on this very stage, Christopher O'Donnell, who's HubSpot's VP of Product, is going to show you stuff in the productize stage, what the HubSpot team has been working on that you can go back, all of you can go back and benefit from. Even if you are not a HubSpot customer, you should be, but even if you're not, I think you will get a lot out of this session. Now I'm going to share with you the most profound technology insight I've had in the last 5 years. And I'm going to grudgingly admit it comes from someone, I'm going to grudgingly admit this, from someone who I think loves technology more than I do. Loves technology. I've spent half of my life in love with technology. He spent even more. This is my son, Sohan. He's 5 years old. For the parents in the room, yes, he's eating a pizza. Yes, he's eating it crust first. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that he's holding an iPhone. It's his iPhone. He has a phone number. He's been texting since he was 4. Now, some of the parents now are having this strong emotional reactions like, Dharmesh, have you not read the articles? Like, you have to limit screen time. You can't do this. You'll mess them up. Yes, we limit screen time. We just don't limit the number of screens he can use. Now, that's him on my MacBook Pro. He doesn't know this yet, but he's going to inherit it on his birthday, which is coming up. And I do this out of love, because he loves it, not because the new MacBook Pro just happened to have come out. It's completely about love. Now, Sohan's favorite technology is Amazon's Alexa. Part of why he loves it is because it's a loophole in the limited screen time rule. There is no screen. He can listen to music, he can play games, there's no screen. Now I'm going to share with you the profound insight as a result of a conversation my son had with Alexa. It starts like this.
Alexa, what time is it?
Now this happens all the time in our household, and the reason for the question is he knows his bedtime sequence begins at 7:30. He knows that. He's known that for a long time.
It's 7:32 p.m.
On this particular day. On this particular day, Sohan had a follow-up request for Alexa.
Alexa, make it 7:20.
Alexa, make it 7:20. Now, on the one hand, this is amusing, right? Because he doesn't understand space and time and physics. He'll figure that out someday. But this is what makes it so profound, is that he didn't have to know that. He experiments with Alexa all the time. He asks for new things, like everything's new for him because he's never done any of this before, right? And so he'll just ask things. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. He's not offended, right? He just tries it, sees what happens. And this is what makes this time such a magical time in the world of technology. For decades, we've spent our lives learning about software products, trying to figure out what they could do and how to do them. Now, we can just ask for what we want. So this is the best time I've ever had in the 25 years that I've been in love with technology. The opportunities just seem infinite to me, infinite. Because now we can wish for what we want, and sometimes, magically, our wishes are granted. Thank you.